Alright folks, update time. Got 15,000 miles on my JL diesel, and I'd like to give you guys a little background on how things have been going over the past roughly year that I've owned this JL. So overall, things have been just absolutely stupendous. This engine has been very reliable. I haven't ran into any major issues, no service appointments to the dealership. I did the oil change myself, so I haven't been there for that. Oil change is pretty straightforward. There's a canister that's kind of at a 45-degree angle right here in the engine bay. Oil filter was $75, $80-ish off Amazon, and I think it's 8 or 9 quarts of oil to use. There's a certain oil spec to watch out for. Just read through some forums and you'll find the right oil for you. So that was pretty easy. Did that at 10,000 miles, if I remember correctly, and it's been good. So while we're talking about oil, I did burn about 1 quart after the first 5,000 miles. I just noticed upon checking the oil that it was a bit low. If you read online, that's somewhat common for this EcoDiesel when it's first few thousand miles. I added oil and it had not burnt anymore after that. So just be cautious when you first get this and just keep an eye on that. So power, fuel economy, torque, all those fun things. My average, which is tracked ever since the first fill up on an app, off miles and everything exactly, I am getting 25.8 miles per gallon with 14,745 miles. So that's stupendous. I don't drive a lot on the interstate. A lot of it's just roads like this. You're driving 55, 60. On the interstate though, you can get high 20s. So an average of 25, 26 miles per gallon for someone that does not tow often is really good, especially when you're riding around in a toaster. So really happy with the actual fuel economy. Now, torque. The diesel in its stock form makes 442 foot-pounds of torque at somewhere stupidly low. It's like 1600 RPM, and that's just something you're not going to get in a gasoline engine. Even turbocharged, you can get those 2000-ish torque levels, or 2000 RPM, high levels of torque, but it's not going to be 442, especially without some crazy displacement. So you may have noticed I have a Derringer Tuner up in the top left corner. So what this does is it's a piggyback tuner. It just plugs right into the fuel rail, as well as another, I think, mass airflow and a couple other things. But it adjusts your boost pressure, fuel rail pressure, and it's not a full tune, it's just a piggyback. But it actually opens up another 50-some horsepower and 70-some foot-pounds of torque. So they're dynoing this thing with just stupid levels of torque at the wheels. It doesn't need the Derringer. It is more than powerful in stock form, and you don't really need it. I almost just hit a chipmunk, or a squirrel, but I didn't. It's still alive. But this is just because you spent $6 grand on the engine. Why not spend an extra 800 more and just unlock even more potential? So 0 to 60 form, you don't see a huge difference with the Derringer. There's a little bit of torque management in place, but you do surely notice the difference in just general acceleration and just having some fun. I'm going down a dirt road here. I'm gonna go past these houses and I'll show you that the torque in this thing. It'll light up the tires anywhere you want to go. The torque is just insane and just unnecessary in this. So just cruising down the road here, you goose it, and it's a wow, it's a blast. I love this thing. So yeah, it's got a lot of power. I think you guys figured that out. Towing, how does it tow? You got 3,500 pound towing capacity, so that doesn't change with the diesel. It's still kind of chassis limited. In Europe, they can tow more. There's some US restrictions going in place here, but in any case, it tows 3,500 pounds very well. It does have the heavy duty brakes in this application, at least in this Willys package. I'm not entirely sure if just because you get the diesel, you get the HD brakes, but I know with the Willys and the diesel, you do. So that's great stopping power. Very happy with that. When you're going up hills, that's another area that I've really found to enjoy this diesel. In the area in Michigan here, it's mostly flat, but up north, out on the west side of the state, you do get some pretty sizable hills, And in your normal gasoline vehicle, you always shift down a gear perhaps, especially if you're in a V6 or something, and you go up the hill and go on with your day. With this, long before the Derringer, it just goes right up the hill without any issue. It doesn't ever need to shift down. You just hear the turbo spool up just a bit faster. Doesn't turn it up to 11, just a notch, and you hear that little bit of turbo sound, and it goes right up the hill. So never once has you shifted down to 7th. You can be towing, you can do whatever you want. That engine is very happy in 8th gear, and that gear will make it a lot of use with this engine. So towing has been great, and even at full load, towing a horse trailer, I still got 17 to 18 miles per gallon, so still respectable fuel economy while towing. What else do I use? The Hotshot Secret has an everyday diesel treatment that they recommend to help put some more additives back in diesel fuel that has been taken out due to legislation. So it gets a little more lubricity into your fuel and really just helps your fuel pump against any wear down the road. So I do apply that, and I put that in my fuel. It's like 1.5 ounces in, that's the performance dose, is 1.5 ounces for my 18.3 gallon tank. So I apply that in there. They say it helps, or add that in there. They say it helps with your fuel economy and power. I don't know. I wouldn't say it's snake oil or anything like that, but it definitely seems to do its job, and the engine seems just a touch quieter with it in. Alright, that's all I have to share with you guys today. Just wanted to give you a quick update. If you have any questions about this diesel engine, feel free to chime in below. I'll tell you about my personal experience. I've had pretty much all the seat time in these 15,000 miles, and it's definitely the best powertrain that FCA has right now in the Wrangler. Yes, the 392 is more fun than the diesel. It has the horsepower that this doesn't, and even though they're equally matched on torque, the horsepower is fun, and obviously that sounds better too. But for the true day-to-day driving and what somebody needs in their personal vehicle, the fuel economy is twice what you're going to get in the 392, and with fuel prices where they are today, that's a cost to consider. You know, somebody buying a 392 doesn't care about fuel costs, but in all practicality, it should probably be considered, especially when it requires premium. So from a pure enjoyment level and getting work done and just driving down the road without the engine having to work, I definitely think this is the best engine. 392 has its place. I know everyone's going to have a certain opinion on that. I'll let you decide. And then from a pure torque level, beyond this, leaving the diesel going to gasoline, I definitely think the 2 liter is probably your better engine between that and the 3.6. The 3.6 is likely going to be a little bit more reliable than the 2 liter in the long run. There's a lot of power coming out of that 2 liter, so getting that much power out of 2 liters of capacity is, you know, there's some stress on that engine. Not to say it's not built up to accommodate that stresses that are applied when you have that much torque, but out of that small of an engine. But the 3.6 has been around since 2012, 2013, and has proven to be quite reliable. So from a reliability standpoint, definitely stick with the 3.6 from my perspective. The 2 liter though has a great amount of torque down low, not the best exhaust note, especially upon cold start, but it's a great engine. So if you want something that's not going to cost your arm and a leg like the diesel does out of the gate, but you want that low end torque, perhaps you want to throw on 35s, 37s, and perhaps not need a re-gear depending on your climate and your elevation or even topography, I would definitely say the 2 liter is one to consider. With the 3.6, tried and true, you can get a manual, so that's a huge perk if you want to roll your own gears, but it's kind of a run-of-the-mill. Everything from FCA has the engine, and it's had the same exact horsepower and torque since it came out. So, you know, throw a supercharger on it perhaps, save your $6,000. I don't know. Actually, the supercharger is going to cost you $6,000, so at that point you could have bought the diesel. So, I don't know. Do what you will, but if I were to rank the engines, that's the order I'd go in with what we know today. So, a wide range of engines FCA offers this mix, so very happy with the offerings, especially when the JK had one engine and 2 transmissions. So huge plethora here to pick from, and this is my take over 15,000 miles with the diesel. Thanks for watching. Feel free to leave a comment and I'll help you guys out. Take care.